Let me know if you're here, if you can hear me. Say hi in the chat. I'm waiting for everything to catch up. Make sure I'm live. Happy Wednesday. Second week in November already, if you can believe that. It's crazy. Going fast. So tonight we're going to play with the new Arctic Pals stamp set from the inspiration box and some aqua pigments. Make a quick kind of fast aqua pigment painting. So just hello, Cherie. How are you? I was looking at my hair, how flat it is, but that's because I had it in a ponytail all day. Hello, Lori. Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to give everyone another minute or so. I came on a minute earlier, so just to let things get caught up. And then we'll go over, I have my samples for the inspiration or the subscription products that I'm going to share quick. Hi, Kelly. So I hope everyone's having a great week. Hi, Lori Gordon. All right, we've got a few people here. We're going to get started. So I have my samples here for the inspiration, the subscription products here. I'm not going to show all the subscription products tonight. I know Christopher's going to go over them. Hi, Anne-Marie. How are you? But I thought I'd show you my samples because I'm mailing them in tomorrow, so I actually have them. So I'm just going to go over one by one. Hopefully I remember all the names of everything. I'm trying to think, where's my little bag that has everything so I can at least see the names of stuff. I'll put the names up. How's that sound? Oh, I hit something on my screen. All right. Just want to make sure I got all my names here so I can let everybody know. All right. I was supposed to type a message. I don't want to do that. Let's go back here. Okay. Oop. Hold on. Oh, all right. I got a message. Just a second. Just kind of playing around with the system. I apologize for that. All right. So I got all the little stuff here and we're going to go ahead and start. All right. So the first sample I have is using the Petite Pine stencil. It is a 6x6 stencil, but I made it into a slimline card because the pattern matches up perfectly. And I used a couple of the images from the Arctic Pals. And good evening, Cindy. I colored the Arctic Pals with the copper shimmer, mist. So I just thought I'd show that to you guys. So I haven't put this on sample on card stock. I don't always put them on card bases because they go up on the wall at the store. So I just used some green cardstock for my stash. And this came from the Dream On set that was released for CYOE. It says Wild and Free. I noticed, oops, I cut it off a little bit. Oops. Anyway, so here's that one. And next I have, this is the stamp of the month. It's called, I actually have it sitting right here. Fantastic Walrus. So I just colored in with some Olo markers and I used the Tundra Triangles stencil. And I just used some No Diving and Midnight Snack ink. And then I sprayed it with some Sterling Aqua Pigments. And that was it for this one. Thank you. Thank you. And then next we have, okay, this one, Sealed with a Kiss. This is with the Arctic Pals, or Arctic Pals that we're going to show tonight. But I used the Tundra stencil again. I don't know if you can see that. I'm going to try to show you. I masked it off to make mountain peaks. And I can actually show you the stencils because these are add-on products. This is the stencil. So I masked off these little areas here, and then I used the new Polar Sparkle embossing powder. I'll show you what that looks like. And then I just used Olo markers again to color it in. And this is, all of my images are stamped with Raven Detail ink on the alcohol perfect blend paper. It's my favorite. And then I did use the stamp set from that has the little snowflake from the stamp set too with the, I think I did icicle on that one. And then I did some more spritzing with the um, sterling. And then I love this one. This one's one of my favorites that I made. This one is the polarizing stencil. And I started with an orange paper. I don't know if it was the jack-o'-lantern. I just a piece of scratch. And then I ink blended the bee, bee sting, guppy, and shooting star over the top. And then when I pulled it off, I actually covered the entire thing with embossing ink and then the fairy dust embossing powder to give it that sparkle. And then this is more of the Arctic Friends stamp set that I colored with Olo markers. I just made some brief little snow piles out of some scrap paper, and this is a sentiment from that stash too. And this is from that stamp set. And then I created a infinity shaker. There are these amazing, beautiful Northern Lights papers, and it's going to be kind of hard to see, but I chose one that didn't have as much of a scene as the other one. Hi, Susan. Thanks, Lori. But I made an infinity shaker with a couple, and you'll have to forgive me because it's very full. So both of my penguins keep getting stuck on top of one another. But what I did is so fun is we've got these little tiny, I don't know if you can see them, little ice cubes that are going to be available. I believe I think they're going to be in the kit. I'm not 100% sure. And then this is the stamp set from them. And then I used the pierced snowflake from last year. And I just created an infinity shaker, which just means I used plastic packaging and adhered it to the back. So, and then I used some sequins for my stash, just to make it fun. Thank you, thank you, thank you, you guys. This was so fun. And then my last sample today is the Warm Winter Wishes stamp set. It's a 4x4 stamp set. And I lightly ink blended the polarizing with just some blue that was left over on my blending tools, and then I used a couple of the images that I colored. I started stamping and coloring all my images first and then decided what to do. And this blue piece of cardstock is just for my stash. Matter of fact, it's Puffin and Penguin. Yes, I know the difference between Puffin and Penguin, Penny. And then I will show you, this is something that I used, and this is a trick I use when I want to have something that's sentiment, and then I just use these. I just stick them over here on the side, and I use them as mats, and no one ever knows that piece of paper was. So I will stick this on something else before I send it to the store, because that is what I do. So those are my samples, and I was glad to have them. I talked to Heather and said, could I wait to send them in so I could share them tonight? So tonight we are going to use the Arctic Pals stamp set. Let me pull it out so not too shiny. It is so cute. I love these little guys. And we got happy birthday, friends through sun and snow, you're the coolest, bear hugs, missing you, and sealed with a kiss. So just great scenery, fun to color, all that good stuff. And we're going to use the bears tonight. So I have the die of the month coming, so we will use that later on this month. And it is super cute. It's a buildable set. So, all right. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do some, I'm not a aqua pigment, or I'm not a watercolorist by no means. This is easy watercoloring. So it is available in the inspiration box, but is not on the site yet. It is correct. It is not, because there was a little bit of hiccup. They hoped to have them in, I think Christopher said in his live the other day when they would be in. So that's why it has not, but I did not know that when I was planning my live, and I did say I was going to use it today, and he said that was fine. So we're just going to go ahead and line these up. This is aqua pigment paper in my Misty here. I love the aqua pigment paper because it holds really well. It's very easy, even though it's textured, it's very easy to stamp on. Tonight though, I am going to use VersaFine Clair ink because this is a pigment ink and it saves me a step. Sometimes if you're not quick enough with the Raven Detail ink to get your embossing powder on it, you have to put embossing powder over the top, or embossing ink over the top. And instead of stamping it twice, I'm just going to use the VersaFine Clair. Now, if you wanted a lighter colored bear, You could use a pigment, another pigment ink, or if you're quick, you can use the Simon Hurley inks because they take a minute to dry. This is just a anti-static powder tool from Tailored Expressions. And but when I watercolor, because I am still kind of learning, I like to heat emboss my images. So we're just going to stamp a couple of these little puppies out. Now I will say that I will stamp them twice because I have a little bit of a bump in my Misty. This is an original Misty, one of the first ones, not first ones, but it's not a 2.0, and I heat embossed on it and I put a little bump in mine. So do not heat emboss on top of it. And I have not replaced it yet. So sometimes I have to stamp more than once. All right, so there are those cute little bears. Put this off to the side. Hope everyone's having a fabulous week. We are going to use Icicle. Hello, Joanne. How are you? And so I just cover them up quick with some Icicle ink. And so now you can kind of see they're kind of dull. If you haven't done this before, for those of you know that if you don't do a lot of heat embossing. And we're going to quick plug in my heat gun. And we will melt this. And we're going to melt them till they're shiny. So now what I do is I take my heat gun and turn it on. I'm good, Joanne. And I just kind of go over my arm till it's just a little hot. I don't want to burn myself. And then I bring it to the paper. And you will see that it will start to, and I kind of move it around. I don't like to keep it in one spot because you can accidentally burn the embossing powder. All right, and then it's just till it's shiny, and I like to move it back and forth like this to make sure it's all shiny. And then we will go to move on. All right. So what we're going to do tonight, let's get this out of the way, is use the Sterling. Now I just had that. Oh, here it is. No, this is not Sterling. This is water. This is my old Sterling. I filled it full of water so I'd have an empty water bottle handy. There it is. I just ordered a new one. And so you can kind of see the like shiny stuff at the bottom. So I had shaken it up, but it does sometimes settle. This is, I haven't used it yet, so it's very, very, it's not 1000% mixed in, you know, the little shiny mica or whatever that is. So I like to just turn it upside down and kind of shake it real good. Just want to do it kind of more off to the side so I don't make you guys dizzy. You can roll it just until it's pretty. I mean, it's going to be good enough for what I need, that if I don't get that all mixed in. But I will say one other thing I have learned is that make sure you kind of scoot out what's inside the dropper so that if it was separated at all during shipment, because I just got this in on Saturday, you know, that it's good. So I just kind of squeeze it up and down. And then I'm just going to put a little bit on my desktop here. We're not going to need a lot. And then I just have some water, just plain old tap water, and a paintbrush, nothing fancy. Thank you, Susan. It was really fun to make. I like infinity shakers because I'm horrible about lining up my foam tape, and I always tend to find out that I have a gap and something falls out. So even if I'm gonna put a cover on it, I will still kind of make more, use packaging to make them. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna wet my paintbrush. Like I said, this is something I'm still practicing at, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna wet my bear down. So we're just gonna, I don't know if you can kind of see where it's shiny. Sometimes it's helpful when you tilt it. So you can kind of see that shimmer. We're just gonna wet him down. And I'm trying to just go on the outside. I'm skipping his nose and I'm trying to skip his cheeks. And the nice part about using the embossing powder is that it kind of creates this little dam. So now I do have these done ahead of time. So even though these will dry fairly quickly because we're not going to do a ton of painting, I'm not going to fussy cut them out tonight. I already have them done. I started to make the card and then I thought I'm going to save it for tonight. So now what I found is that I have just you can use a cloth. I did grab a paper towel tonight. I'm going to go in and just grab a little bit of my Aqua Pigments, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm just going to go right around the edges. Now this is where you can do different ways. We're doing I think it's called the wet on wet technique. So it's going to automatically draw that silver paint to the center and flood it out. But this is an easy way to just add a little bit of color to the outside and then just let it sit. And if you get it wet, it will kind of, with practice, as what I have found, it will just pull it. And if you get it a little too wet, what I do is I just kind of wipe this off a little bit, and then I go in and kind of try to push in and suck up some of the water off my brush. And this is just something I've taken a few virtual events where I've watched some practice the watercoloring, and so it's just, I've been trying to do more and more of it. It's something I'd like to get better at, and I've really kind of enjoyed the process. And this is kind of a way to have control a little bit without, because you kind of have to let a little bit of control go when you watercolor, is what I find. But it's, you don't have to let 1,000% go. Now, there's this a silver, so it's going to be very, very light. But I don't know if you can see the difference between this leg, the two back legs, and that bear. There's just a little bit of color difference, and that gives it that little bit of more of a not white, white, white. You can mix other colors. Like you could use the pearl if you wanted to. You know, or if you wanted to make up a brown bear, grab one of the brown colors and do that. And then you could slowly go in. But I just thought these were polar bears. We're doing Arctic, so I thought it would be fun to just do this. And then these back legs are technically behind and in shadow, so I'm just filling in the whole thing. And then I'm going to go ahead and let that dry for a little bit, and then we'll come back and look at that. So now another way that I have found for me to color or watercolor and kind of practice is to go on, I think this is the wet to dry technique. So this polar bear is completely dry. I'm just going to go ahead and pick up some of this aqua pigment, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to start dropping it along the edge. I'll bring that up a little closer. Haven't figured out how to zoom in yet. So I don't know if you can see that. Just around the edge a little bit. With my new camera, I haven't really figured out zooming in with while I'm live. And I'm just going to keep going around the edge. I don't really worry about light sources too much, but I just think about where it might be a little darker. Like I always feel like, you know, where you sit is going to be a little darker. Obviously the bottom, but I like to go around the edges because that kind of gives your character, like if you color, that gives, and you do the dark on the edge and you go light towards the middle, it gives them a roundness, which makes them more look real. And then just under his arms here a little bit, because obviously there'd be a little shadow under there. And my final images will look a little different because I did them the other day, but they will be dry, so we will see what they look like. And this is how I colored them the other night. So then I'm going to go in, and this would be darker in here, and I am going to go just lightly around his arms so they get that little bit of a rounded look too. And I'll do this one. And I'm just going to keep going around the edges all the way around. It will do his ears kind of the whole way. And then here I accidentally got a little bit on the outside. Now I was going to cut, if we're going to cut these out, you know, and give it a white edge with the dies, or if you fussy cut them, if you are a fussy cutter, you can just pick it up with a white towel. That tends to help bring that so you can't see it, or you can color it with a white gel pen. Oops. And of course I threw my... So we're just going around the edges a little bit. little bit down here because there'd just be a little shadow under his arms. And then what I'm going to do is just, I kind of just wiped off my brush. I'm not worrying about if it's clean, and I'm just going to go in and add a little bit of water now. Right around those edges, which kind of softens them. Not worrying about getting the whole thing wet. And I found I've noticed that I learned that if you kind of wipe your tip of your brush on the edge of that helps get a little bit of the extra water off, because I found sometimes that I'm got too much water in my brush and it dilutes my color too much. So that was one thing I picked up in my last class where I did some watercoloring earlier this year. And I'm just going around and softening those edges so they're not quite so harsh. Kind of like if you do Copic marker coloring and you do like a rounded, sometimes people tell you to go round and kind of scratch right where the two colors meet, and that helps kind of get rid of those lines. And then sometimes you have to walk away. If you're just not sure, walk away, and then you can come back and you'll be surprised at what it is. Hi, Christy. I had a great Wednesday. I am excited because I am actually off the next 2 days. I am going away to a crafty weekend with some of my friends. And we get together a couple times a year, and we got together in June, the end of June, and we are getting together at a little retreat house, and we are going to craft all weekend. So I'm super excited. And I've been pulling some supplies and what I'm going to take, and I had to joke with them. I'm like, I put so many stamp sets back last night. Are you proud of me? So now it's wet, so it's going to be a little bit harder to see because of, but you can kind of see where it's shiny. And I hope you can kind of see that there's a little bit of different color compared to this around it. I'm excited. So here, I'm going to go ahead and pull in my dry ones. We'll keep working on these, but I wanted to show you that I just kept, it is a little hard to see on camera, but you can kind of see this is what it looked like when it was dry. I left his belly plain, and there's just a few little shiny spots, and he looks like his ears are really dark and his nose is really dark. We'll do those, but in person, he looks like he has some color. He doesn't look just all white and flat. This one might be a little easier to see. Let me see if I can grab a piece of colored cardstock that might help show it a little better. So you can kind of see the shadows. That's why I love using sterling for this, because even though it's shiny, so when it catches the light, but it's just the lightest of grays. And I just think it's super fun. Now, if you notice, the cheeks are nice and shiny. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab, and I'm going to shake this off really quick off camera. This is the Copper Shimmer. And I'm just going to spray the littlest bit on my mat. We don't need a lot, of course. There we go. I found that if you shake it up well, that helps to keep it from clogging if you're having clogging issues, so you get all the sparkle inside. So make sure you shake it up really good. Turn it upside down here or there. And then also wipe off your nozzle, and that will help too. I just know that if I don't shake it up so good, sometimes it clumps with a little bit of the shimmer inside the little, into the tube. And then I just kind of take it to the sink and take it apart and rinse it out. But we're just going to take this and we're just going to add a little bit to the cheeks. I thought it was kind of a fun color for their cheeks, because these, they're cartoon characters. These aren't super realistic looking characters. I mean, they are, but they aren't. And I think they're just adorable. So I thought just to add a little personality, we would give them a little cheek. Okay. Pull that up a little bit so you can kind of see that. And then we're going to go ahead, and I'm just going to grab a little bit more of this dark, and I'm going to color in their face. Now, what I have figured out that I did, they are super cute, Anne-Marie, is that I tried to avoid the nose a little bit. Not that it matters too much, but that way, see here, now you can see that shimmer kind of covers up that nose. So I actually went back in and just dabbed it with my cloth, which took a lot of that color up. And then I was careful to kind of go back again, and I'm doing that dry technique. And what I did is I did 2 or 3 layers of the shimmer to make it extra dark. And then I did not add any water to that section so that when it would dry, it would be super dark. You can heat emboss. I just, or, you know, you can dry it, but I try not to. I try to let them dry naturally just because that way I don't affect that embossing powder by accident, like overheat it. So I'm going to go ahead and add those, and we're just going to let them sit and dry for a few minutes. And then we might come back and add a little bit more to them. Actually, this one is kind of dry, so I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit more of that gray and grab some water and pull it down. And that just kind of helps put a little bit of the shine into the whole thing, so it's not just shiny on the edge, but most of it. So I am not, like I said, an expert in watercoloring, but if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the chat. Here we go. So we're just going to let this guy dry a little bit, and we're going to move on to our card. So I'm just going to set that off to the side here. I thought I would also show you what they look like. I also did some, and then I just get I don't really clean my brushes horribly well. I just rinse them really good, dry them off, and then I leave them on the side to dry. Especially like this one came with a cover to protect it, and so I just leave that side to dry. These are the polar bears with Oholo markers on the Perfect Blend paper. And I just used a very light brown on the edges, and then I blended them out. So they have just a teeny tiny bit of color, which is, like I said, it's easier to see it in person. I don't know if it was showing up on camera too well. And I thought I'd show you that those are super cute. You know, I have some of the other images are colored that I have finished. Here is another one on the Aqua pigment paper of the foxes with the copper shimmer. And then I did the sterling on the tips of the tail. A couple of fishes with some aqua or Olo markers, the narwhal, and the owl. These are some leftovers that I had. Laura, you're welcome. Like I said, it's a learning process for me, and it's something I would like to, I'm trying to get better at. I have found, I think for me, what helped is I did a floral class, and florals I think are super, to me, they intimidate me. So I found that if you just go and start and play a little bit, that is the easiest way because you can make them meld together and kind of blend. And like I said, sometimes you have to walk away and leave it. So definitely play. And I think I said, I think this is the easiest way for me to watercolor is I don't do a lot of blending. I'm trying to get comfortable with what I need to do. Hey, Annie, how are you? Thanks, Cindy. They are super cute. All right. So I did do a little bit of die cutting afterwards. I just used a die from my stash. I can't even tell you where it's from. It's just a snow. I don't even know who made this one, but it's just a snow drift die. And I used the same one to cut all of these pieces out. I'm going to go ahead and use, this is just I think it might be even basil paper. I don't know. It's just from my stash. This is going to be our card base. We're going to make a slimline card with it, with our little bears. And I just made a bunch of pieces, and these are from the slimline card panels. And I thought it would be just fun to just kind of layer them up, and I just cut them at different heights. I'm going to go ahead and wipe this up. Normally, I save all that. I splatter it on something, but I'm going to wipe it up tonight because my luck, I'll make a mess. And I think what we're going to do is we're just going to kind of tip them off a little bit. We're going to use the pearl. The pearl is one of my favorite colors. It is very shimmery. You can add it to any watercolor to make it shimmery. You can even add it to a re-inker and then do ink smushing with it, or put your ink pad down, put a little bit in, and it makes a kind of shimmery color. So we're just gonna, I have 2 or 3 bottles of it. I use it for everything. So pearl would work very well on these to make them a white bear. I just thought the gray gave them a little bit of color to make them have some shadows. All we're going to do with this, you could put the penguins feet. I could put the penguin feet, like penguin feet. I don't have any of the penguins colored right now, but but that would be super cute. That would be fun. Great idea, Annie. Maybe I can do that off camera later. We'll see if I have time tonight. I'm just going to take a little bit and I'm just going to do it on the edge. It's going to be really hard to see. Trying to see if I can get that shimmer. It's really hard. I'm just doing the edge. You can kind of see where it's wet right there. And the shimmer doesn't like, let's see if I can move my. Hi, Christy. A squirrel tail. I have the fox tail or a, I don't know. We'll see. I've got a couple things here done. The owl's feet would probably work too. That would be super cute of it looking dug in. But I'm just going to go over the edges of these. We are going to splatter on it a little bit, and we're not going to splatter heavy, so it's not going to take a long time to dry. But I just thought we'll add just a little bit, and it will just differentiate the layers a little bit. And in, like I said, this Pearl and Perfect person is just stunning. You could also, if you were not an aqua pigment person, you could just lightly dip the edges with embossing ink and use the icicle of the fairy dust embossing powder, which would give it a little bit. I don't know how many of these snowdrifts we're going to use, and some of them are bigger than others. I'm just going to go ahead and do them all since we have a little bit of time. And then we're going to obviously use the Bear Hugs sentiment. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them on. I just cut the snowdrifts at different angles. I used both sides in some cases where when I cut it out, I used the other. And how I did, so I have, since this is an open-ended die, so how I did this is I put the die in like this. And then when I cut it, I only cut the tip. So if you're going to have a closed end die, you would probably have to do partial die cutting. And you can see because I have a little line here from where I put it in and ran it through, but we're going to cover that up. And these are not to the right size of my panel. Some of these were with the slimline card bases, the pre-cut from Brutus Monroe, but these are just leftover pieces of white, and I just grabbed them because I thought it'd be fun. Yes, they are. These are just so cute. When I saw them, I was just, when I saw that we were going to have these, I was super excited. Because they're just, I love the style of them. I mean, they're cutesy, but yet they're not. You're fine, Michelle. We haven't put our card together yet. We're still putting pieces together. I did aqua pigment the bears already, so if you can watch the replay later if you want to see how I did that. And now I'm just adding some aqua. This is just the pearl, and I'm adding it to some snowdrifts. I mean, this is a ton of snowdrifts. We don't need this many, but I'll take some with me on my crafty weekend and use them up. I mean, you can even see like this isn't even cut perfectly, but I thought it will work. We're going to make it work and cover up some of that. These will not take that long to dry at all. And if we smear it a little bit, it's snow. All right. All right, so there we go. So we got this, like I said, this is just a piece of scrap cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and cut this down. We're going to use both the sterling and the pearl for our splatter, but we're going to do that when we're all done. Tara, I know I cannot wait to see you tomorrow either. I was just telling the girl, or everyone, that I was going to meet the girls tomorrow. So I like my card panels to be at 3. This is going to be 3 by 8.5 because I love the slimline card bases that are from Brutus Monroe. I have some already done, and when I layer it, it's going to have that white border, which I think adds to this. So we're going to go ahead and start layering our card together. First thing we're going to do is, and see how this is going to be too much, and that's okay. I can cut it off. I'm just going to go ahead and layer them and then cut them down. Does the purple, you know, Christy, I don't do it a lot with water. I did do a few of my images colored with water. There's my samples. These are on the Perfect Blend paper with some chroma mist that I colored. I didn't super saturate the paper. I think the big thing I would be concerned with is if you used a lot of water that you could actually pill on it. So I don't know, Christy. I love the Aqua pigment paper from Bruce Monroe. It die cuts beautifully, and I just get the small four by, and then I can save them. I cut the tops off, I stick little pieces in, and I use them all the time for, I love to use them for die cuts, not necessarily for background paper, but I don't usually do a lot of background paper, so, or background watercoloring. So when I ink smush, I just grab whatever I want. Sometimes when I ink smush, I grab a thick, thick, thick one if I'm going to use a lot, like a generic one. And sometimes I use like a thick cardstock. But I haven't done that in a long time. We're just putting some paper on, and I'm just going to add this to the top. Are you working with, I am working with the Inspiration Box stamp set. When I was planning, Michelle, when I was planning this, I did not know it wasn't quite available to the public yet. They're coming out. Hi, Jen. Hi, Linda. But this is a subscription product. Um, I will show it here quick. This is the Artic Pals. It will become in the Inspiration Box with the dies. I just have the stamp set for now. And it should be, I think I heard Friday. I don't know, Penny, is that what you heard too, I think? So they should be coming. So how are you, Linda and Jen? Now, I will tell you one thing, that if you wanted to tuck things under, you might not want to put as much up here. Okay, thank you, Penny. Yes, Friday. You might not want to put any, put some adhesive here instead of way at the top if you were going to tuck things, but I'm not going to worry about that. We're just going to layer from some of these drifts, and I'm going to layer this one here because I accidentally have that little bit of a bump. I'm not worrying about my edges at all because we're going to cut them down. You can see I didn't even glue that on straight. And we're just going to keep layering these down until I'm just kind of playing with the sides. I am good. I am ready for I'm having a long weekend, and the weather's been decent. It's been 50s, so it hasn't been super cold. Not that I like winter, so I'm just going to keep layering these down because it's the Arctic. I guess I did both sides of these. Which side do I like better? I think we're going to use the lighter one. This one has more ink on the sides. And of course, I'm hoping my tape gun doesn't run out on me tonight during our live. I'm just going to keep layering them up. I do, Michelle. I can show, I showed my samples. I didn't show all of the things because I know Christopher's going to do some of them tomorrow, and I didn't want to, ruin all the fun surprises. I mean, I know they're on the website right now, but I can re-show my samples at the end for those who, if they don't have time to go back to watch the replay right away. I have the stencils and the stamp of the month. And I did get the Aqua, I did get the new powders in, the embossing powders in. And I did use them both. Oh, you're welcome. I am not 1,000% sure which one is the stencil of the month, but I do know. So these two pieces are extra and they're longer, so I'm just going to save these for another card. Hi, Mama. How are you? You made it. So I got this one last piece we're going to glue down, and then we have to stamp a sentiment, and we got to figure out what we're going to do with our bears. And then, yeah, maybe we'll stick something. Maybe we'll do that quick. Oh, he's so cute, though. I don't know if I want to. Let's see. The trees are okay. Thank you. Kids want to play board games. Have a blast this weekend. Tell Tara I'm sorry I can't bring her gummy bears or worms. Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll have something. I don't know if I want to use those because those are so cute. Maybe we can stick our narwhal down. How does that sound? I'm going to peel this up just a little bit, and we're just going to go ahead and stick him in. We're going to stick him in like he's in the water. That'll work. So my sister was talking about how you could take like like the penguins, and you could stick them upside down, have their feet sticking out, but I don't have any of those done. That's a great idea. I'll have to try that the next time. So before we get done, we're going to go ahead and trim this down. So I'm going to go ahead and, so I will tell you, this is a lot of layers in some spots. So we're going to just be very careful. And I love, this is one thing I like about this Tim Holtz trimmer, is that I can just kind of go, I'm going to actually stand up, just kind of go slow, and it just cuts through all of that paper and just cut it all off. Look at how thick that cut. Lots of layers. And then we'll go ahead and do this other side here. I guess I should have probably kept this a little longer, but it's tighter, but it works. So we're just kind of going slow. And I have to, and a little bit here and there, and a couple of passes, and that will work. And then I have found that one didn't quite trim as well, so we're going to turn it around, and we're going to do it one more time, and we're just going to be real, line up the edge, make sure it's straight. There we go. And then my edge is a little bit, that was a little thick. We probably should have cut some of those down beforehand, but that's okay. Probably should have layered a few down. I would recommend layering a few and then cutting a few and then layering a few if you have them too wide. I was kind of doing them at the last minute, so otherwise I would have probably cut them down to pretty close to the size of my panel. All right, so there we got our panel. I hope it kind of looks like snowdrift. And now I want to, actually we're going to splatter before we stamp, because I don't know if I want my sentiment to have a splatter on it. So let us go there, and I'm going to go ahead. I have a little bit, let's see here. I have a little bit of sterling in a spray bottle. And I will say, this isn't necessarily what it's, it can get a little clogged, but I just put a little bit in. This is just a generic spray bottle from the dollar store. And I'm just going to go ahead and spritz it. I mean, my narwhal got a little bit on there. I'm okay with that. Got some big drops. I'm still okay with that. And then I don't have any, do I have the shimmer mist? I do, the pearl. Let's grab the pearl shimmer mist. I couldn't remember if I packed it. So I got the pearl shimmer mist, which is very similar to the aqua pigment powder, or the aqua pigment, but it's in a spray form. And instead of called chroma mist, this one's called shimmer mist because it's like a white shimmery. I'm going to turn this just a little bit. So this will give us an idea of kind of like some snow. All right. And then you could do some splatter too, but I'm going to just leave it like this. I love lots and lots of shimmer. And then I am going to kind of just dry it a little bit with my paper towel. Wipe off my desk a little bit. I got it all over the place. Squeaky clean here. And then we're going to go ahead and stamp our sentiment and then get our bears on here. I'm going to stamp my sentiment down at the bottom. So I did kind of have something in mind when I was working on this tonight. I know sometimes when I do my lives, I do like to just go on the fly. But I thought this would be something fun to do. I had thought about doing some masking tonight, but I knew I wasn't going to. I ended up knowing I was going to run out of some time. So I thought we would just make some snow drifts. So I do have a big splatter of that pearl shimmer mist in here. I'm okay with that. I love that about the shimmer mist. If you wanted some smaller, you could take that out and drop it, or just use a brush to do some small splatters. But for me, I love the extra. So we need our stamp set. You could use the Friends Through Sun and Snow as well, and the Missing You with the bear hugs. I'm just going to go ahead and use the bear hugs, and we're just going to stamp it right here because there's not as ton. Actually, changed my mind. We're going to stamp it right there. And I am going to heat emboss this again. So I'm going to use that pigment ink quick. Actually, I only have one image tonight, so I can use I can show you how to do it, well, how I do it with the Raven Detail ink. So what I do is I get my ink and I get my embossing powder, so it's very handy. I don't uncover it because of course, you know, can make a mess. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp it down, and we're going to stamp it a couple times, just because we're stamping over some of that shimmer mist. And I want it to, so that's nice and dark. And we're going to quick grab it. Here's my lid. You don't have to be super quick, but you want to be quick. You don't want to let it sit too long. And I'm just going to go ahead and put my little bit of icicle on there because I want it to kind of match my bears. Tap off a little. See how you can see it's muted now? So it does work. But when I'm on my, when I'm going to heat emboss for watercoloring, I tend to use my pigment ink because it takes me a little bit longer to get my embossing ink on there. Or embossing powder on there, I should say. Sorry about that. Quick heat set this, and we're going to finish this up. Yes, it is. That's what I like about it. Okay, so then I set that, and then that's got a little bit of shine to it now too. I've been down the kind of the Pinterest rabbit hole lately again. So now here is the bears that I colored before. And like I said, I only kind of did one layer with these, so they're not super dark. And of course, it's kind of hard to see when it's up against, I mean, you can kind of see there's some shadows in there, but against this, compared to when I pull this out and it's by itself. But I also did a couple of layers of these. So we're going to go ahead and we're just going to tuck these guys in. I think that's kind of fun. We might be able to tuck in one of our other characters. And so let's go ahead and glue those down. I am going to use liquid glue. This is the Barely Arts liquid glue. It's my favorite liquid glue. I finally, just after a year and a half of using it, am almost through my entire refill. I just started pouring the rest of it in tonight. So we're going to go ahead and grab that. Stick his little leggies in just a little bit. And I'm going to grab my stamp to hold that in place. And I don't know if I'm going to tuck his guy in. I think this guy's going to, this little, I don't know if it's a guy or a girl, but I'm going to pretend this one's the girl, the mama. She's going to be on top of the snow block where the daddy has his feet kind of tucked under. And I think I'm going to just tuck her in right here. Maybe we'll tuck her back toes in just a little bit. There we go. I'll put that block down. Now, this isn't 100% dry, so that might be why if you see it kind of peeling up a little bit, it might be because the shimmer mist isn't quite dry. Now we got our narwhal stuck in there, and I'm just going to go ahead and grab some glue and stick him down. I'm not going to worry about his horn there a little bit because that gives him some dimension. So now we got to decide, do we want to put another one of these guys, little guys in here? What do you think? Do we want to use them? I think I just want to use one though. What do you think? Should we put him in here? Or should we put them both in here? What do you guys think? Do we like them both or just the one? I'm kind of leaning towards one. Just because I feel like it starts to be full. Both? Okay, both. Did you like them both, Cherie, up here at the top? Kind of together? Should I put them both kind of together? You know, like I think maybe back down where I had them. Hi, okay. I will go with them. Go with you both there. And I'm not going to worry about him too much if he's not sitting on this. So we're going to put this guy back. Linda says one. Glory says one. Okay, so I need one more vote. This animal is a fox. So there's two foxes. So Two of you say one. One says both. Last call. This is so very cute. Thank you. I think I like this guy. I think we're gonna sit. We'll just use this guy for now. And then when he's done, we can always decide if we want to put that other guy in there. But one. Both. Oh, we got lots of people saying both. Okay, there was more boths than there was one. So we're gonna go with the both. Hey, last call was for both. Majority wins. All right, well, we're gonna put this guy in first because he's running. And I want the other little bear. He's so cute. So we're just gonna kind of tuck him in like that too. And we'll get this guy. She's gonna kind of sit down a little bit lower. We are gonna tuck it in a little bit. And we'll put that down. There we go. We got him sitting there. So excited. I love it. It's so cute. I'm not gonna add any bling to it, but I may add a couple of these fun ice cubes that I was talking about. Now I knocked one off my shaker card. So let me grab them. It's a little, the ice cubes, I believe, but just one. It's too late. They're both glued down. Now we have five animals, so that kind of makes sense. So these are the little ice cubes. It's gonna be kind of hard to see in this tray. Little shaker elements, but I thought maybe we can add just a few little bling to them. So they look like teeny tiny little plastic ice cubes. And it's funny because when you add the glue to them, this one I accidentally ripped off my shaker card because the plastic doesn't, the glue melted, so it almost looks like it's melted ice cube. So we're just gonna dab a few drops here and there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll do 6 and 7. That's good enough. And I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for my glue pins. It was amazing to get them. I appreciate that so much, Cherie. It's awesome. See, I already got it in. It's in. And then I'm just going to use my little glue pick here and stick them down. And then they'll take a couple of seconds to dry, and I'm going to do them flat. Just a nice little shiny bling to them. Kind of fun. If you had a glass, you could totally put these in as ice cubes for your like lemonade or something like that. I'll turn them around a little bit. Here we go. You didn't, oh, I'm sorry, Ellen. Well, fortunately, the replay will be available. So this is a card we just made. We're using the Artic Pals. I keep forgetting what it's called. So no, Artic Pals. This is going to be in the inspiration box. Sorry, pull it down. And I use some Aqua pigments to paint them. This is Olo markers up here, but the others are Aqua pigments. And oh, thank you. And I will quickly go over my card samples one more time. Here is the stamp set that we used. That is in the inspiration. And Susan, you what? Oh, you're welcome, Cindy. Thank you, Luann. Ellen, thank you. They are so cute. I love these guys. Okay, so here's my samples quick. This is using the stencil of the month. It is the pine trees, and I use the foxes again here. This is watercolored on the perfect blend paper with the copper shimmer. And then we have a 4x4 stamp set that's called Warm Winter Wishes. And I use the polar, this is the polar embossing powder. And then this is the polarizing stencil behind. That's okay. You can watch the replay, Tara. You can watch it another time, but you got stuff to do, so I can see you tomorrow. I made an infinity shaker with these cute little penguins, and they keep getting stuck on top of one another, but they're colored the same. And I used a bunch of the ice crystals in there. I've got a couple of them on the outside. Actually, I think I knocked them off when they were in my bag. I did, because they don't like to stick to this. And then I use sequins for my stash. And then this is the, um, what's the night with the Northern Lights paper pad, which is amazing. So you can kind of see that there. I'll kind of get it closer. This is one of them. That is amazing. What sticky tool is this? Anne-Marie, I have no idea. A friend of mine named Mindy gave it to me, and I believe it was used for perler beads. She saw it on Instagram and she gave it to me. It's wax tip. I have a couple of them. It just happens this is the one I grabbed the most because it sticks out the hardest. I think we can sharpen it. So I'm not 100% sure. I know, I cannot wait for some of the new paper backgrounds. This is also the polarizing stencil, and then I use some inks and the fairy dust embossing powder to make it sparkly, and some more of our cute little images with Ola markers. This is the Tundra, can't remember exactly, Tundra triangle stencil that I masked off, and this is the Polar Sparkle embossing powder. And last but not least, the stamp of the month is the I cannot say the name of it yet. Fantastic Walrus. And this is your Fantastic. And I just fussy cut them out, and I use the Tundra triangle stencil there too, and then some more splatter. So yes, Minnie does have the best tools. I can't wait to see her tomorrow too. All right, you guys. Well, I appreciate you joining me tonight. I'm going to go and have some dinner because I haven't had dinner yet tonight. And then I have to start getting my stuff ready for my crafty weekend. Thank you, you guys. I appreciate y'all. Show the Polar Ice embossing powder again, please. I will. I will show you both. This is the Polar Ice. So it's got that glittery sparkle. And then it's got blue. And then this is, oh, that's the Polar. So here's the Polar. And I think that might have been what, I don't know if I used the icicle or the Polar there. I used the Polar, here, you know what? I can show you. There's that one. Here's the Polar. And here's the Polar Ice. Now this was on blue, this is on, I did ink blend over the bottom of that. This is just on white. So I don't know if you can see the differences there. And then here's the Polar Sparkle. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. I will have a great weekend. So there it is. So you can kind of see it. So there's a bunch of glitter in that one. And I think I went a little crazy with the glitter, and I will say heat emboss it from the bottom first so you don't blow all the glitter off. And stuff, but the blue is just stunning. So I appreciate y'all guys. Have a great night. And I know Christopher is going to go over the inspiration stuff tomorrow. So thank you for joining me, and I will see you next week. Yes, I will sleep tight. Drive safe, Tara, if you have to drive yet. I didn't know if you're already on your way, but drive safe. Good night, everybody. Bye.